Today we're gonna talk about the recently buffed 6-star Forest Aurorian, Beryl. This bi-crystals plagued girl was pretty disappointing on her release, which was pretty devastating because she's in one of the currently strongest elements, which made Beryl's chances at beating her competition slim to none. But Dog was nice enough to recently bless her with a second chance by giving her a very huge buff, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So, it's time to once again check out what Beryl has to offer and see if these buffs increased her potential, to make sure if you want to roll or skip her when her banner comes back in the future. Let's start this off with her active skill, Crystal Domain. This skill deals 250% damage to all enemies on the screen. The damage increases by up to 160% the fewer of them are on the board. It also marks your current position after using the skill or entering Aurora time, which allows you to trigger your equipment's ability to spawn crystals a second time at that marked location. This skill got a small but still important upgrade, as it now at A2 also marks your position not only after using this active skill, but also after triggering Aurora time. Meaning, you can now take advantage of the wider crystal spread way easier, making this skill definitely a lot better, as it before was just a global low damage skill that just felt way too restrictive, as it only gave you access to the second wave of crystals after using it. But now, with your options increased, this is not that bad of a skill. Let's check out what else Beryl now has to offer by moving on to her chain combo, Hidden Bloom. This chain deals 145% damage to one surrounding cluster at the chain trigger requirement of 2, 160% damage to 12 tiles in a diamond shape at 8, and finally 165% damage to 16 tiles in a radial shape at an 11 plus chain. This actually also did get quite the upgrade, a pretty significant one, because before her buff, her chains actually had trigger requirements of 3, 9 and 13 respectively, which means that her first and second ones got reduced by 1 and her last chain by even more with 2. Meaning that overall the consistency of her damage output has increased immensely, which also applies to her equipment that also profits a lot from this change. Speaking of her equip, let's move on to the biggest game changer buff Beryl got, her equipment. Crystallus Camellias. This equip allows Beryl to generate crystals in the span of her chain combo, before your enemies even get to move. These crystals remain there for the rest of the round, and enemies take death ignoring damage equal to 40% of her attack when they come into contact with them. And now, to the brand new part of the skill. After connecting 10 tiles, the crystal's damage increases by 100 whole percent for every additional tile up to a maximum of 5 times. Meaning that at a 15 plus chain, you get a total damage increase of 500% on every single crystal. This change is huge, as before, her crystals barely did any significant damage, making using her honestly not feel rewarding at all, because this equip is basically her main gimmick and niche after all. But now, these things can get quite thick damage, making even just moving around the board hell for your foes after these spikes of death are around. You do have to slightly change your game plan, however, as you really want to always hit that nice 15 plus tiles spot, to both trigger Aurora time, that also thanks to her active skills upgrade now marks your position for even more crystals, but also to get the most out of them with this huge new damage buff, allowing her to decimate numbers of enemies without even doing as much as lifting a finger. Before we finish this up and make the final judgment on the brand new Beryl, let's give her a breakthroughs a look to make sure you're well prepared the next time she's around. As usual, we're only going to look at Breakthrough 3 and 6, as these are the ones that actually matter for 6-star Aurorians. Her BT3 only increases her active skill damage by 50%, bumping it up from 250 to 300. as this is not more than a slight damage increase on only her skill, which is by far not her main damage source. This is definitely not worth going for, and pretty much negligible. Her max BT, however, is definitely a lot better, which should also be the case considering the number of resources you have to spend to even reach this point. This breakthrough gives her skill Preemptive Strike, giving you easy access to more damaging crystals right from the get-go. While this is definitely nice to have, it's still whale territory, meaning not really worth it to get. Which does mean that you basically get the full Beryl experience without any breakthroughs. And now that we're done with this, let's wrap this up. All in all, Beryl is now much better in doing what she does, meaning that now that she has easier access to higher chains, she also has increased access to way more crystals on the field. And her equip thankfully gives these sad crystals a reason to exist now, by bumping up their possible damage output by quite a lot. All of this actually just makes her not feel bad and actually even fun to use in content and lets her shine, aka lots of enemies at once, and the more multi-tile ones the better, making her also a quite good choice for events like the currently running Dunefire Strike one, and also moving up from being solid to actually being an overall strong choice and character in general. How satisfied are you with Beryl's changes? Are you going to roll for Beryl when she's going to come back, or do you already have her? If you disagree with anything, or just have something to share, just comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. That was all from me, have a nice day, and see you next time.